The price of liberty is eternal vigilance. The price of liberty is eternal vigilance. So you have to keep going over and over, and I will never be out of work.
How do you define the success of your efforts? Is it media coverage generation? Is it funding? Is it opinion polling? Garnering support that goes beyond education, age, gender, so on and so forth?
Great question. I have two different responses, and the one might first surprise you. I think in many ways being hated is a sign of respect. And maybe it was Rush Limbaugh. I can't remember who said this, but I heard it somewhere. I forget where I hear things, but people say the toughest thing is to get used to being hated. And everyone wants to be loved. You want to be loved. I want to be loved. He wants to be loved. That's what we want to be. But when you're exposing, like, you know, the $100 billion owner of the Washington Post or Silicon Valley or CNN, when you're fighting with people who buy ink by the barrel, you're going to really be hated. And the more they hate you, you have to see it as a sign of respect. So in many ways, you know, to give you an example, today I had I'm not making this up, BuzzFeed and the New York Times went through foundations who support us, because we get support, we're crowdsourced funded, we get support from thousands of different people, and they individually called each and every one of the foundations that has sent us a contribution. How could you support James O'Keefe? And would you know that, like, many of the people who got phone calls, hung up the phone and called me and said, James, I got a call from the New York Times asking me why I support you, and I'm going to double my support this year.
Report, the videos that you have released, what exactly has it showed? What do you plan to release? Because at this point, a lot of those videos have showed reporters talking about their work.
Yeah, absolutely. So the one this morning, as I talked about, the one this morning was talking about how the Russia-Trump collusion, in his words, he said was an effing black box. He sort of implied there wasn't maybe a story there, and that contradicts every opinion and conjecture and narrative that we're fed. And a lot of people have pointed out today that maybe these opinions aren't based in fact. I mean, that's a legitimate argument. And I think people need to see what these media people are really saying. So we did one on the New York Times, which changed the New York Times social media policy. We did one on CNN, which blew up CNN and the media and exposed what these people really believe and why they're doing the journalism they're doing. And now we're doing one on the Washington Post, and on we go. And actually, we have people all over the United States right now using various techniques to gain access to people. I'm not going to disclose what they're doing, but I can tell you one thing. Project Veritas is definitely keeping them honest. And I don't think they should be patting themselves on the back because they actually vet a source. They shouldn't be getting a Nobel Prize for vetting a source. This is what they should be doing. But Veritas is definitely keeping them honest, and nothing's going to stop us. Veritas believes in the power of free people. If they're just given information, if they're given the truth, they'll make the right decisions. And we're not giving up. Thank you.
The use of someone to pose as a fake sexual assault victim, what does that do to actual survivors of sexual assault?
I'm not going to speak
What message does that send?
I'm not going to speak
It was your operative that posed as that. We know that.
I'm not going to confirm or deny any undercover operations that are real or imagined in any of anyone's mind.
Let's talk hypothetically then.
Next
what
question,
does that
please.
Hypothetically do to actual victims of sexual assault?
I'm not going to speak to real or imagined investigations. I'm not going to speak to motives or techniques. I'm not going to say. So that wasn't your investigation then? I'm not going to speak to.
Investigation?
I'm not going to speak to our sources or our methods, and you're welcome to assign a motive to me if you wish.
I'm not asking about motive. We're asking what does this do to actual victims of sexual assault? We now have to deal with somebody pretending to have that perpetrated on them.
I'm not going to
answer.
Do you know the statistics about false reports of sexual assault?
I'm not going to address that.
Do you think that sexual assault culture exists in this country?
I don't.
And victim blaming and shaming exists in this country?
I don't think it's my place as an undercover journalist to go into that. I use various techniques to get.
Would it become your place?
We spent 7 months. We spent 7 months undercover inside CNN to grab a story that was of vital public interest. And I'm not going to disclose to you the techniques we use to get the information. We use all types of very sophisticated, very elaborate ways to gain information into our targets. And I will not and I cannot disclose those techniques to you. And I'm not going to speak about imaginary motives or any bizarre alleged motives that probably aren't true, I'm just not going to do that. I'm not going to speculate. I'm not going to debate you about it. I'm just going to talk about what we actually release. And the last 2 days, we've released 2 undercover investigations into the Washington Post that have started a conversation. And we're going to release more. And we're not going to stop. And nothing that the media says about me will ever get me to stop. The only way to stop me is to kill me. You understand?